This video is about the east-west cycleway, but it isn't about the entire cycleway. We don't see the cycleway as simply being a means to move adult commuters from North Strathfield to the city. We also see it as a means to provide more local connections for communities along the path of the cycleway. This particular video will cover connections to Five Dock Public School from the area towards the Canada Bay Club and the area just north of Lyons Road West. Regardless of what you think of the cycleway or the route that it is taking, what we're looking for here is making sure the cycleway is safe enough for kids in these areas to walk, cycle or scooter to and from school without parental supervision. We should be aiming for a standard of safety that high, something like the Bay Run. Unfortunately, the current plans come nowhere near meeting that standard. The crossing at Harris Street will be fine for adult commuter cyclists, but way too dangerous for school kids and even novice adult cyclists who are interested in having a go at, say, riding from home to a cafe in Five Dock or a yoga class or the shops or whatever. The design for the crossing at the roundabout on Lyons Road West is just as bad. I crossed there once to make this video with my kids, and I never want to do it again. It's a shocker, and all the planned design will do is allow more people to congregate in the middle of the road before being run over by a fast-moving car. We can do much better than this. The cycleway needs to be inclusive for all members of the community and not exclude those who are unable to scamper across busy roads. This isn't about forcing kids to walk to school. This graph is from Auckland and it shows acceptance of cycling over a period of years, but it shows how people generally think about something like letting their kids get to school under their own steam. In this graph, 8% are keen on cycling and do it all the time, whilst 41% reject the idea outright and would never consider doing it. However, there are 22% who are considering it and 15% who do it occasionally. Much the same holds true for parents when it comes to their kids walking to school. Some like their kids to walk every day, and some insist on driving their kids 300 metres around the block every day in a shiny four-wheel drive, and everyone falls in the middle where they do a mix of both, or parking and walking the last bit. What we're looking for is a cycleway design that allows the considerers and the occasionals in the middle of the graph to move across to being medium or frequent people. Some of the rejectors may change their mind after a while, but there are always going to be some who are flat out against the idea. This isn't about them. If they want to spend their life sitting in their car, that's their problem. Now you might be thinking that changing our streets to allow kids to walk or ride to school is an insane idea, but let's see how it fits in with existing council strategies, such as the disability strategy, the environment strategy, the local environment plan, the local strategic planning statement, and other plans that council's published. Here we have the smart city strategy, which wants to encourage walking and cycling to reduce car use. The strategy also wants Canada Bay to be easy to get around and environmentally responsible. The local movement strategy seeks to reduce car usage by up to 29% in selected precincts, and given the current traffic and parking problems around Five Dock, I reckon that's an idea worth supporting. As density increases with more and more apartments being built, especially with the metro coming, it's only going to get worse unless we do something about it now. The local movement strategy also wants to promote walking and cycling for local trips to improve everyday access within neighbourhoods, although the left out schools is something to access on a daily basis for some reason. I'm not sure why. We all know that traffic levels drop substantially during school holidays. Council also wants to manage the impact of traffic and parking by enhancing the movement of vehicles other than private cars, including walking, cycling and public transport. Under the road safety section of the local movement strategy, Council wants an expansion of the 40km/h high pedestrian areas and safety upgrades at intersections. Everything so far seems to fit in with the idea of making sure the cycleway has a design that is so safe kids to pensioners can use it to get around Five Dock by walking, cycling, scootering, wheelchairs, Zimmer frames or gopher buggies. The local planning strategy repeats all of this too. It wants to reduce car reliance. The local planning strategy also recognises that healthy built environments are associated with increased physical activity, lower rates of obesity and chronic diseases, enhanced social interaction and general community well-being. All that sounds like a good reason for kids to be able to walk or cycle to and from school. Council also wants us to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and to encourage cycling and walking by developing a connected, user-friendly active transport network. All the council plans are much like this. I could go on, but it starts to get boring real quick. The remaining plans will be covered at the end, if you can be bothered watching for that long. What's a reasonable distance for kids to walk to school? Everyone would have a different opinion, but we have a kid in year 6, and he walks 1.3 kilometres to and from school every day. That's 13 kilometres per week, the equivalent of nearly 2 laps of the Bay Run. In researching this video, we walked to Five Dock Public from near Timbrell Park, and then walked from the pedestrian crossing outside Five Dock Public heading west. The distance to the last house before the Canada Bay Club was only 500 metres, and it took us just under 8 minutes to do that. This included several stops for the dogs to stop and sniff things. Now, all the video in the background you've seen is me cycling from around the Canada Bay Club to Five Dock Public, and it took me around 2 minutes each time. Obviously it would take longer to cycle with kids, but you should be looking at no more than 5 minutes to cover that distance. What this means is that every kid who lives in these areas and attends Five Dock Public should be able to walk or cycle to school pretty easily. Distance is not the issue here. Safety is the issue. Those kids can't do that because it's too dangerous for them to cross Harris Road right now, and it'll be too dangerous for them to cross once the cycleway is built. What we need is a crossing that is suitable for school children, something like this raised crossing in the heart of Five Dock, preferably with a raised crossing lane for cyclists. What about kids who live north of Lyons Road? Well, our walk took us along Friend Avenue, along Hen and Chicken Bay, and from here it was a bit over 1 kilometre to school, a distance that is still easily walkable and certainly achievable on a bike or scooter. Henry Street is generally a quiet street with slow-moving traffic, so it's a good route for kids to take. The streets to the west of Harris Road, such as Bevan Avenue and Myler Street, are also quiet streets. The only problem with this route is getting across Harris Road safely. The same is true for kids wanting to travel west to get to Concord High School from Five Dock. Concord High is less than 2.5 kilometres from Five Dock, an easy ride for a teenager. However, I won't be sending my kids across Harris Road in the morning rush hour. The other unsafe crossing is the roundabout at William Street. Once we have a shared path going around Hen and Chicken Bay past the Barnwell Park Golf Club, I expect this path to become the Bay Run of the West. The only thing holding it back from becoming that is getting across Lyons Road at any time of the day. All the council strategies talk about encouraging walking and cycling and the benefits of exercise for everyone, and then they propose a crossing that offers nearly zero safety improvements. I, for one, don't understand the disconnect between the multiple strategic aims of council and this design. It's worth bearing in mind that we'll soon have a metro station in Five Dock, and you won't be able to drive to it and park. Every passenger will have to arrive at the station by bus, walking or cycling. Where are the passengers going to come from if they can't get across the roads? The metro strategy calls out the need for corridors to and from the stations that allow for designated pedestrian and cyclist road crossings. Well, why is this being ignored? If we go back to the local movement strategy, it says council wants to create livable and safe urban communities, and this includes safety upgrades at intersections. This isn't rocket science, just implementing the existing strategies. I think a lot of people just don't appreciate how difficult and stressful it can be to get young kids across any sort of road. In this first video, there were 2 adults able to shepherd the kids across the road onto the Bay Run, and vehicle traffic was light, and the driver coming from the left was nice enough to stop for us. This second video is from outside Sideways Cafe in Dulwich Hill. I could see this lady was trying to get 2 young kids across the road, and the road's generally pretty quiet, but I crossed and then stopped in order to halt a car coming from the left. If we don't have safe crossings along the cycleway, parents simply won't put up with the stress of trying to manage their kids across busy roads like Lyons Road and Harris Road, and I don't blame them. This means that the cycleway will probably be great for able-bodied adults who commute from out towards North Strathfield because it's going to be empty. It won't be like the Bay Run, which, because it is so safe, it's usually crowded with mums pushing prams and kids on bikes and scooters and older people and so forth. It will be an exclusive path for confident, fit, middle-aged males who cycle and no one else. I'm pretty sure that's not what council is trying to achieve. In fact, the council environment strategy says that by 2030, they want to provide access to safe, affordable, accessible and sustainable transport systems for all. Council also wants to improve road safety, and they want to apply special attention to the needs of those in vulnerable situations: women, children, persons with disabilities and older persons. Do the proposed road crossings align with the resilient city strategy? No. As an aside, it's worth thinking about how these streets would look as a network of 30-kilometre-hour streets. Here's some examples of how the Dutch do it versus how things look today. And in case you think this isn't possible in Sydney, here is Clara Street in Newtown, which has been landscaped as a slow street. To ride this street, let's do a recap. The east-west cycleway should provide local connections as well as long-distance or regional connectivity for commuters. That includes things like enabling kids to walk or ride to schools, such as Five Dock Public. However, the current cycleway design doesn't do this because it prioritises fast-moving vehicle traffic over safe crossings for vulnerable road users. This is very 1960s thinking, which is all about speed at the expense of everything else, such as pedestrian safety, the environment, and the livability of local communities. We'd like to see this thinking overturned and safe crossings provided all along the cycleway, such as on Harris Road and at the Great North Road roundabout. By this time next year, we should be able to measure the success of the cycleway by counting how many kids are using these crossings in the mornings and afternoons. If it's close to zero, then we'll have spent $7 million for nothing.